You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. Be optimistic. Umepinduka kushoto kulia, ukitizama wenzako ambao maisha yao unayatamani kama supu ya nyama. Achana na jaza kibaba. Oh, patience, please, just you wait. Pole pole ndio mwendo, usibabaike rembo. Taratibu ndio mwendo, utakayo yatakuja na yapite. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. Ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Oh, just take one step at a time. There's no need to rush. It's like learning to fly or falling in love. Whoa. It's gonna happen when it's supposed to happen, when we find the reasons why, one step at a time. Ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum.
And I see your people changing the nations, now rising up to take their place. And I see an army, righteous and holy, filled with the Spirit and unafraid. They carry a banner, it's written Jehovah, the Lion of Judah, the King who reigns. Christ the Redeemer, He is our Master, and we've conquered all in Jesus' name. Yeah, we are the overcomers. We are the overcomers. We have overcome in Jesus' name. We are the overcomers. We are the overcomers. We have overcome in Jesus' name.
Life is what you make it, and I sure believe that our lives can be free, and we must win. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, Ushini. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Ushini. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Ushini. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Ushini. Oh.
Day after day I'm running, night after night I'm yearning. I need more of you. Song after song I'm singing, sincere words I'm bringing. Show me more of you. The enemy's telling me that I can't move, that there's a separation between me and you, that I'm not right with you. But I'm not satisfied with where I am, in need and desperate need of your hand. Kwa nini wewe mkuu, siwezi kubaki vile nivyo. Ni kweli niwe ndio suluhisho Baba. Nimechoka na kungoja Baba, ninaomba fill me, oh God. Fill me, oh Lord. Na umenitoa mbali, nyuma sitakubali. Still need more of you. Na bado sijafika, mbele yangu ni giza, but with you I see it through. The enemy's telling me that I can't move, that there's a separation between me and you, that I'm not right with you. No, no, but I'm not satisfied with where I am, in need and desperate need of your hand. Kwa nini wewe mkuu, na siwezi kubaki vile nivyo Baba. Ni kweli niwe ndio suluhisho, na nimechoka na kungoja Baba, ninaomba fill me, oh God. Na siwezi kubaki vile nivyo. Ni kweli niwe ndio suluhisho, na nimechoka na kungoja Baba, ninaomba fill me, oh God. Nimechoka na kungoja Baba, ninaomba fill me, oh God. 'Cause there's a war in my mind, and I keep losing sight, but the battle is already won. And there's a war in my mind, and I won't lose this time. It's finished, it's already done. Sing that one more time. And there's a war in my mind, and I keep losing sight. The battle is already won. And there's a war in my mind, and I won't lose this time. It's finished, it's already done. It's already done.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Family Night. Hey! It's so good to be here. Oh my gosh, it's that night we love. It's a time we come together as a family. We hang out, we chat, we get in the Word, we understand what God is saying. It's if you have members of your DG who are not yet on, this is a time for you to just send them that text, make that group call, and just say, hey, it's time for family night. And today I've got the privilege of hosting some amazing people. But first of all, my co-host is Pastor Carol, the ever amazing Pastor Carol.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we are so grateful today to be hosting some really good friends, people that we love, the Mutais, Pastor Godwin and Noel, who lead the Mavuno Lifeway Network.
Yeah.
And so we're very excited that you guys are in the house today. You're going to be doing an introduction just in a sec of all the people in the group. But even before they do that introduction, just want to make sure we give a few shout outs to the people who are already on. I can see today that the first person in the house today, I just killed it. You want to start with Facebook?
Yes, I can start. It's Pastor Mugambi Kelvin from
Oh my gosh.
Mavuno Wayakiwe. He's the first one.
My goodness.
I don't know how he got in.
How did
by
he
the
do
way.
that?
I really don't know. I hear there are cartels. Then there's Job Hub. And what's up, Mavuno? You know, he says Philip Bugigi here. Representing Seekers from Hill City and Overcomers DG.
Nice.
That is so nice.
Wow.
And then the third person was Polycarp Ateto. With that kind of a name, you have a bright future.
Yes.
Polycarp Ateto.
But he didn't say what.
He didn't say which
DG.
That's from
DG.
Lifeway.
Lifeway. Nice.
It's being claimed, but we don't know. We don't know. It could just be. They could just be saying. So we don't quite know.
Yeah.
But the first person, this one I have to give a shout out. The first person on YouTube today was Noel Mutai. You can clearly
Mama,
tell.
you made
You
it.
can clearly tell she's from Lifeway, and she's from Zuberi DG. That's a DG that we've come to know their name because they always proudly represent. So make sure you represent your DG. We want to know their name.
Yeah.
Prasis was second. Prasis is she's struggling, clawing back to that podium. She's been missing for a while. And then Kelvin Mugambi as well. I mean, I don't know how you become first on Facebook and third. Surely there must be a cartel operating.
Yeah. Deep
Pastor
states.
Kelvin, you need to tell us this deep state story of yours. How are you getting in like this? And then Kev the Rev, he almost made it. This is awesome. And he podium finishers, family nighter, downtown in the house. And that's Pastor Kev the Rev. And then I can see Eric Kimunyu from Mavuno 360. Eric is consistent. Huh?
Come on, Eric.
Those are those guys who are just consistent. You know, those guys who in class they always are number 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then eventually they end up getting a first class degree.
Yeah.
And you wonder how they do it. Eric, you're so consistent. I love that. And then Godwin Mutai. I don't know how he did it. I think there's a couple thing happening there. A couple thing. And then, of course, the Cargoways. Simon Cargoway from downtown. The Cargoways are on and ready for a fun time. I love how there's this group of people who are always there, prominent. Yeah. And you know, you can't say, because this thing is not about money. It's not like the cabinet secretaries where you're saying you're elected in Kenya.
Yeah.
If you have billions, we'll make you a cabinet secretary. Here, it's like, I don't know how they get on. Yeah. Like, there must be a secret. You guys need to tell us how they're always consistent. Yeah. So Facebook also, I'm sure, has its owners.
Facebook, yes. We have Otieno Benjamin from Eden DG, Mashariki.
Come on.
That's so good. And then we have David O.C. Jenny from DG 104 in the house. That is from Mavuno Wayakiwe. Yes. And then Jackson Kamande, Hill City. And shout out to Rays of Light DG and Tamarin DG. I mean, this is turning out to be like I want to send Nataka Kutuma Salam Zangu.
I'm sending my greetings.
So
he's giving shout outs.
Yeah, so feel free to do that. Then we have Pastor Patrick Minor.
Like you can tell where this crowd is from.
Yeah.
They're so biased.
Yeah, there's Mary Sherry from Lifeway.
Come on, Mary Sherry.
She's on.
I think the Lifeway guys, I think they're the guys who've rigged this thing today.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, it's really great to be here. And as we said, we have the Lifeway Network in the house. We're going to ask Pastor Godwin to just do a quick introduction of who's in the house. Yeah.
All right.
And Lifeway Network is, right now, the smallest it'll ever be.
The smallest it'll ever be.
And you have 3 churches in the
We have
network
3
right now. Tell us a bit about that and then introduce who's in the house.
Yeah. All right. So, Mavuno Lifeway. Oh, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching us from. So good to be here, literally in the house. And as you heard from Pastor M, my name is Godwin Mutai. I'm the pastor. I'm the lead pastor here in Mavuno Church Lifeway. And I have the privilege of leading this network with the amazing, the first podium, huh? Noel Mutai. And we have three churches in this network. We have Mavuno Kiambu Road, led by Pastor Maich. Hey! Pastor Maina Wamboi with Pastor Belinda. They lead Mavuno Kiambu Road. And then we have Mavuno Pendo, which is in Roysambu. Woo-woo! Yeah. We have Pastor Irongo and Pastor Shu. They lead that amazing church in Roysambu.
Wow.
And then from my extreme left,
just tell us maybe who they are and what they do.
Yes, yes.
Where they serve.
That's Kate. She calls herself Katie. Pastor Kate actually leads the Mavuno Young and Fearless, the youth service, Mavuno Young and Fearless. And she also oversees a high school that we reach out to, St. Elizabeth's Kamothi, where we reach out to students. There are about 89 girls on a weekly basis. She's the pastor there. She's the zonal pastor there. We have Pastor Steve Ndongo. He's our services pastor. He's also in charge of our college ministry, and he's a zonal pastor for Githurai DG, or the DGs around Githurai and KU as well. We have Hypses, Moses Migot. He has removed his shoes, as the instruction says, remove your shoes. The ground you stand on is holy. He's our zonal pastor. He is the zonal pastor for Zimmerman Roysambu area. This is the zonal pastor there. Wow. He's also helping us out with the general experiences in the church. He's our resident DJ-led worship leader. Come on. Yeah. And then right on my left, we have Pastor Henry Kianduma is our bishop. Bishop Henry Kianduma is one of the zonal pastors in Mavuno Kiambu Road, and is also the associate pastor helping out Pastor Maich in leading Mavuno Kiambu Road. And together with him, is the awesome wife of 10 months, right? 10 months! Pastor Susan Wairimo. 10. And 2 weeks. Eish, the countdown. Who is counting? She actually leads Mavuno Kids in Mavuno Kiambu Road. Wow. So good to have you guys here. Awesome. Then on my extreme right, we have Pastor Lynette. Yes, our last born. This is our last born.
And she has a nice nickname.
She has a nice nickname, Muchina, because of her small eyes. She looks at you and you think she's actually focusing. Muchina, that's because of her Chinese eyes.
But her name is Mushina as well.
Mushina,
right?
yes.
Somebody didn't even know that.
She's one of our DG leaders. She's also currently doing Fearless Academy, which is our leadership development program. And she leads one of our amazing teams called the Media Team. We nicknamed them to Midianites. Nothing associated with the Midianites in the Bible. But that's Lynette Mushaina for you. And then we have Annabelle. Pastor Annabelle leads the zone which is in Ruaka, the Ruaka Zone DG, and the DGs that are coming out of that place. She is also our resident network admin. For this entire network, we have an admin. Her name is Pastor Annabelle, and so glad to have you here. Thank you so much, Pasi.
Wow. So one of the things I love about this group, and that's what we've been trying to do every week, is that they're actually Pastor Godwin and Noel's family. Yeah. So this is their spiritual family, the zonal pastors of the campus they lead, and then the campus pastors of the churches their network overseas. Yeah. That's kind of what their spiritual family is about. And so we're really, really excited to have you guys in the house.
Hey!
It's such a joy to have you guys. Yeah, it's really awesome to have you guys. And I mean, Lifeway is sort of like, Lifeway is like famous for just being the church it's like the church of energy.
Yes, you're very right.
Like you go
Don't
to
dare
a service
us.
at Lifeway, it's like this network is the energy network. So we're very excited to. Any young person who shows up there just gets stuck. And so we like that about you guys. Yeah. So I mean, we had a great week. We just had a fantastic week. We've just come from, we had a downtown network gathering that happened last Saturday. And it was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were at Lavito Primary School. All the downtown network, local downtown network churches were there. You guys came. Some of you guys were there as well.
We were
so there were people from different networks as well, just representing. We had a fantastic day. I think it was just such a great day. God did some amazing things. I can see that somebody who we actually prayed for is in Dubai already.
Wow. Hey, Dubai babes.
And this, who was that we prayed for?
It was Val
Val Kanini. She's actually already there.
She's already in Dubai.
God gave her a word about being an international missionary and to start a Mavuno Church internationally. And I mean,
there she is.
There she is already. She's in Dubai.
In Dubai.
Val, we're so excited you're there, and we're praying that God will establish you.
Amen.
And that you are going to start that discipleship group. God's going to give you the grace, give you the networks, give you the divine connectors to help you do that.
Amen.
And we're really looking forward to that.
I hear since she left, there are a few things that have changed.
Oh.
Yeah, for example, the name.
Oh, the name of their discipleship group has changed?
It has moved from Affluent to Dubai Babes.
Hey.
I mean, really? Val, you need
Gotta
to confirm
recognize.
that.
So I mean, it was such a such a fantastic gathering, and I just really enjoyed it. I mean, such a good spirit in the house. The next day we had the Mombasa gathering.
Whoop,
And,
whoop.
it was it's so amazing. I didn't even intend to go to Mombasa, by the way. Pastor James was doing it, but in the middle of the Lifeway gathering, I just felt that God wanted in the downtown gathering. Like I just felt like God was saying, "Go and support Pastor James." And so I remember just talking to Pastor Kara and saying, "I need permission to head," and she was like, "Just go." So I got on the first flight but even before I did that, at the gathering, I remember telling Pastor Milton, "I'm going to go to the gathering tomorrow."
Yeah.
And I said, "I wish I didn't have to go alone. I wish I had people." And he was like, "Give me 1 minute." He made a few texts. Then he told me there are 15 people who will come. Actually, there are 17 people who will come with you from
Imagine
Mashariki.
that.
And so I had an army from Mashariki. They actually got on on the train that night. Some of them were actually there at the gathering. They went home, changed, got on the train.
Yes.
The next morning, I found them waiting for me when I arrived.
Pastor M.
Yeah,
Let me just speak to the Lifeway network.
Yes,
Listen to what other congregants are doing for their pastors.
there are armies in the
Army
house.
is rising.
There's an army rising up. Yeah. So I mean, it was so fantastic because Mombasa, it's a church led by Pastor Martin. Such a great spirit. I mean, I hope he's watching this, but he is such an amazing person. His wife Faith. Yeah. And we had a great day. It was a fantastic day. Again, just God did some incredible things in that time, and there was just healing. There was prophetic words.
Yeah.
It was just a time of encouragement and joy in the church.
Wow.
And I mean, we really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so thank you for hosting us, Downtown Network and Mombasa.
Come on. Yeah.
And this Sunday,
Hey!
we're finally coming
You
to the
ain't
Lifeway
ready.
Network.
Hey!
And Pastor Godi, maybe you want to just welcome people to the Lifeway Network. Where is it going to be, the gathering? And
Hey, you guys. All right. So wherever you're watching us from, if you're in our nation, and even if you're from out, actually we have someone from outside who registered from Uganda, coming all the way from Uganda to welcome. This will be our, our, I don't even know how many we've had so far, but this is going to be the Lifeway Network gathering happening on the October 23rd, which is on Sunday, this coming Sunday, starting from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We are located in Kahawa West. Kahawa West is just north of Nairobi. It's along Northern Bypass, and we are inside Marion School, Marion Preparatory School. We are inside there. If you ask someone around Kahawa West, they'll direct you to our space. You are welcome, karibuni sana.
I love it. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be on Sunday.
Yes.
So we're going to just have
it's a full day thing. Oh yeah, and Team Mashariki, as you can see, we are ready for you. Welcome, Team Mashariki.
And there will be a good team from Mashariki.
Yes.
I had the planning for this.
Yes.
And so we just want to say, I mean, this is probably going to be our final one in Kenya.
In Kenya, yeah.
So we're just welcoming as many people. Maybe even after church, just come to Lifeway, get to experience your brothers and sisters, and let's just wait on God together. I think that God is doing, saving the best for last, like Pastor Maish says. We're really looking forward to it. And you know, the interesting thing for me has been in the gatherings, just how God has consistently shown up. Like in every single one of those gatherings, God has consistently shown up. The things I've seen for me is, one, a major increase of faith in people. I've seen just an increase of joy in the church and love in the church.
Yeah.
And I've just seen God do some miraculous works
Yeah.
in every single one of them. And so I really can't wait to see what God does. My heart is so full of anticipation for this weekend.
Amen.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Amen.
The weekend after that will be in Bujumbura.
Yeah.
And
Whoop,
then
whoop.
the weekend after that will be Blantyre.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that will be the final one. I think Blantyre will be the final one. And so, man, it's been exciting. And then 19th of November, just note it down. That's a mega gathering. It's going to be all of us are going to do this together.
Yeah.
It's going to be physically at Hill City, but then we're going to be having watch parties in all the other countries that Mavuno's in. And so, I mean, this is, I think in this season, it's just the thing that God is helping us to understand how to get in the place where we're all in one accord, praying together, and then listening to his word together. And then watching God just command his blessing as we're united together. So please put that date down, and I can't wait to see all of you on the 19th.
Awesome.
I'm really excited.
Absolutely. So I mean, we're as for our visitors, this is family night. It's a time we come together just to hear God's word together as a family, to understand what God is saying to us as a movement, and also just to get ready for God's move. Basically, and then also to prepare our discipleship groups. So that when we go into conversations, we're able to actually have some guidance. And most of the people who are watching this are watching with their discipleship groups, or are going to watch it, are going to discuss it together with their discipleship groups. And so if you're not in a DG and you'd like to be in one, let us know. We'd love to put you in one in a campus near you. But yeah, that's kind of what we do every Wednesday night. By the way, I've just come back from Mombasa because I actually went on my retreat there. And so I had a really good time. I think I've just really had some good time to pray, just prepare for next year, just listen to God. I'm excited about next year. Let me just put it like that. And November 19th is when we'll be talking about what's coming. It's a vision gathering. It's when we just begin to prepare our hearts for what God is going to do next year. And so let me just pause there. Let me click. I can't even. I'm not even allowed to say at this point. So let's move on. Yes, it's going to be amazing. So so how are you really doing, guys? Like, how are you really doing? You know, I mean, we've been going through this series, and the Mavuno churches, this is what our conversation is. It's about emotional health. We're saying that God wants us all to be healthy, whether it's spiritually, whether it's financially, but also emotionally. And that's what we've been talking about. And I know you guys have all been, the different churches you've been going through that, except maybe Mavuno Pendo, because you guys just relaunched last Sunday, and we're very excited about that. God gave you a fantastic venue, and so we're really excited about that. So maybe let's talk a bit about how the series has been for you guys. Pastor Godwin, you were saying how this has been a personal series, and especially this last week was very personal for you.
Thank you, Pastor M. So as I was saying before, just before we went live, one of the things that this series has done for me is unpack the things experiences that I've gone through as a result of my family background. And this particular sermon that we just did this Sunday was talking about the different issues. In fact, one of the quotes was the things that kids go through most likely because of the things that parents go through. And we listed some of them, like financial anxiety. We talked about marital breakdown. And as I was preparing, I could see myself in that story.
Wow.
How my parents went through some of those things, financial stress, financial anxiety, and eventually they ended up separating, and how that affected us. Up until we were adults, we were still struggling with some things. Today I was sharing with this amazing family that something as simple as a saving culture was not something in our family, because of the different things that we went through. We were in that category of people who didn't live below our means. We were not people who saved. We were not people who, considered putting our trust in God enough to say, I'm not going to take a loan to finance this lifestyle. That was not our story growing up. And so as I was preparing, it hit me afresh that whatever experience I go through right now financially, whatever experience I go through in my emotional health, mental health, is most likely going to affect our daughter. We have a 2-year-old daughter.
Wow.
And I was giving an example even at Lifeway that sometimes when we normally tell guys at Lifeway that your pastors never fight. We just have robust conversations. So there's one of those times that we had a robust conversation with Pastor Noel, just not about 2 weeks ago. And so Talia came, our daughter Talia came and just held our cheeks together, like one hand here, one hand there, and talked to us, and then started laughing. And so in a sense, trying to glue us back together. And you were telling guys at Lifeway that these children already know. They have emotional intelligence. They can tell there's something wrong. And I can already tell that whatever decision we make today will definitely either positively or negatively.
Wow.
So it was very personal for me as I was even preparing for the sermon.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And I thanks for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And just sharing from your own story and your own brokenness. Because I think that's how you allow the rest of us, the people who are listening, then to be able to open up and share their own story. But even as you talk about the fact that, your own parents' stress and marital stress then cause stress to you guys.
Yes.
And there's no way you could be an emotionally healthy family when they were going through what they were going through.
Yeah.
You talked a bit about how did you guys at Kiambu, you were the one preaching, Pastor Maish. What have you seen at Kiambu through this series?
I think what you said one thing when we started. You talked about these gatherings and how there's an increase in terms of faith, and we've going to experience that during this series. One of the things that this series has required is people to get into a place where their faith increases in terms of reaching out to God to solve the issues that you've been having in your family, in your workplaces. And so we've been asking people to come with their certificates, to come as families so that we can pray together. And one of the things that we've noticed at Mavuno Kiambu Road is that since we started this series, when we ask people to stay for prayers, actually because our idea is to finish the prayers by midday, because our service runs up to midday. But like this past Sunday, we went up to 1 p.m. And we had families pray over each other. We had the pastors pray over families, and then we had the families pray over each other, and then we had a surprise. Obviously, Pastor Noel and Pastor Godi surprised us, and they also helped with praying with the couples. And so we've seen an increase in terms of faith, that people have decided that, there's so much going on in families right now that people are reaching out and they're saying, we believe that God can do this. And this series has just ignited that faith in people's lives, and we've gotten to experience it in Mavuno Kiambu Road.
That's so good. That's so good. I know, Pastor Annabelle, you're preaching to the youth in the youth church, MYF church at Mavuno Life, because you guys actually have a youth service.
Yes.
And you're telling us that some of the parents even attended this last week.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to have parents for some of the kids join us for the MYF service. And they were really encouraged because they also they were kind of like they were really encouraged because I think sometimes we have this tendency to push kids aside when it comes to family drama and pretend that they are not supposed to know these things. But as Pastor Godwin has said, kids are very intuitive, especially at that teenage age. They see the brokenness and it affects them. And so we had some time to really pray over the kids who felt that their parents had hurt them. And it was also really eye-opening, myself also coming from a broken home, to see so many different kids raise their hands. They're also coming from broken homes. It's really, really, it was really heartbreaking, but to have them be encouraged and to pray for them and to tell them that, we should expect trials in this world, but Christ has overcome the world. So, it was a good time.
So it's real issues for young people. I mean, this is real for young people. And it's interesting that you talk about brokenness, that so many, even of the preachers preaching, we're from broken homes. People are from broken homes. And you're sharing it from your own experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even mental illness was something that affected my family as well. And so having an opportunity to share with the students about, struggling with schizophrenia with my mom and everything. And it was interesting, and I could see that they were connecting. And it was a wonderful time.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Pastor Caro, you've been leading us in this series, and it's deep. I mean, it's really connecting with people at the heart. I know when Henry was talking about when he preached at Kiambu, and how he had not really expected people to respond. He didn't have faith that if he asked people to respond, they would respond. Henry, remember you're telling us about that, and how you were surprised. Maybe just say something about that.
I think for me, what that came out as is the expectant hearts of the people in the church, not for the pastors to do a magical thing, but for God to move. And so throughout the through the sermon series, as Pastor Minor was saying, the moment we were doing the sermon on the workplace, and we posted that people bring their certificates, their brochures from work for their businesses. And I was scared that people might not respond. But then I walk into church and I see some of our congregants with white envelopes, 3 of them, and I'm like, people actually responded. So for us, it's to celebrate the expectant hearts of the people, and that's when now God moves, because over the month we have seen God move in an amazing way.
Yeah.
So we continue to celebrate.
Wow. And I know all of you have just shared testimonies of, you shared stories about even miracles that have happened as people have been prayed for. And just God, when people's hearts are expectant, God just moves. He just starts to move. And so I'm so excited to hear about how the series is being received. I hope in your campus, you're seeing similar faith rise as people just bring God into the brokenness of our families, of our workplaces, and then just ask Him to be the one to bring the healing. And I mean, this last week we were talking about just families and the fact that, parental issues will always, we pass them on to our kids. And as you say, kids are smart. They get it. You can't hide it. You can't be having friction or challenges in your marriage and your kids don't pick up. They can feel it. I remember for us, like our kids, there's one of them who, it's like they can almost read.
You can't hide anything.
Nothing. Like I remember you'd walk into the door and they'd be like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" And you're like, "What's wrong with this child?" For that one, I think it was like spiritual discernment.
Yeah,
but for real, it's just hard to hide things from them. They can tell. And that means then if the family becomes that space where we are not real, if it becomes that place where we put barriers and we don't deal with some of the issues, then as Pastor Gordon was saying, they will affect our children.
Yeah.
And for some reason, you picked some key issues that cause anxiety in families. I don't know what you were thinking with these issues as you picked them for us to address. But you talked about financial anxiety. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know what you're thinking with that.
Yeah. I think it's because financial problems are a key thing for families. And, you might be there and you're thinking you're the only ones who ever went through it. But it's a very, very common thing, and it's actually global. It's not just a Kenyan thing, it's not just East African, but it's actually a global issue. That financial distress is very real. And that has to do with people just not understanding how to manage their finances. I think, Pastor Godwin, you said that for your family, there wasn't a saving culture. You didn't live within your means. And so that really just has to cause a lot of stress. People taking loans, taking high-risk loans. I mean, during our time, houses would literally go, the parents would mortgage the house, and when they're not able to pay that mortgage or that loan, then the house would go. Can you imagine? Just the stress that would cause their family. So I think I just looked at the issues that are common issues for families, and I think those are the ones that we discussed.
And how they bring now, talk about emotional imbalance. And you don't even, it's because the issues in your family were just transmitted.
Yes, they were.
So, it struck me, even as we went through the Money Walk series, that we're actually dealing with mental health for the next generation. Because, there are people who tell you, but us guys, we live by faith. We don't need to save. What you don't understand is you're transmitting demonic influences that were transmitted to you from your parents. At some point, you have to say, this stops with us. We have to learn to manage money better. Because the stress that has passed on to us, and we can even be in avoidance. Because I find like Christians sometimes we can be in avoidance where we're like, us, we don't think about money. Us, we just don't deal with it. It's not spiritual. But it's such a spiritual thing. That's why God talked about it so much. And this year, God gave us a real charge when He said, every family, last year it was every family in Mavuno get out of debt. I really believe this is why God is doing this. It's like, my people should not be living under the yoke of slavery. We should not be living under the yoke of bondage. Christ has set us free, and He wants us to live in freedom. And so, as sometimes people who come from those high-risk cultures where it's like, it worked, my parents, this is what was normal for them. but you don't understand the kind of stress it can put on your family. And so I really resonated with that one when you talked about the fact that, and this year I think the word God has given us is every family will have 3 to 6 months savings by next September. So again, take it as God's word. Don't take it as just, this is a finance. It's not a seminar, by the way. This is actually the health, the spiritual and emotional health of our children and our families will actually be based on our obedience to this word. So it's not just money, but you talk about marital breakdown and the stress in our marriage and how that affects our children. And again, maybe, I guess you're a psychologist. You see this.
Yes, it's just, the friction that parents will go through or the conflict that they'll go through. Sometimes when you talk about marital breakdown, it's almost like the temperature. It's almost like the emotional temperature of the home, of the well-being in the home. And when it's highly frictional, when there's a lot of tension, when there's a lot of stress, sometimes even the parents might decide we're going to have this conversation in our bedroom. Our kids, hopefully will not catch it. But still, there's an environment. There's a spiritual thing that is going on. And their spirits. I mean, there's that thing that it's just a negative space to be. And it's going to affect children.
I think what that taught me is, it's our duty to work on our marriages. For those who are married, it's not even about you and your preferences. It's really for the sake of the next generation. I think one of the ways you broke down this series, you said our primary role is in the family, is to pass faith to the next generation and to disciple the next generation. So all these things are coming in the way, they're cutting in the way of our being able to do what our primary role is, to pass faith to the next generation, to disciple the next generation.
In fact, Malachi did say, God says there, give careful thought to your ways. Give careful thought. And I think what he's saying is that, hey guys, just look at the things that you're engaging in. Give careful. It was Haggai. Give careful thought, because passing on faith and raising the next generation is God's priority. It really is.
So when we begin to understand that, then we begin to understand, you see, because many times I find we're so busy, we've chosen lifestyles that make us so stressed and so busy, and then we don't realize, we don't actually prioritize. So this is a pet one for me, and I hope I never offend people by saying this, and if I do, please forgive me in advance. But I always find couples will make choices that are based on lifestyle, not on our calling. So it's like, because we don't want to live in a small house in this season and we want to be rich, so what we do is we move our lifestyle up, which then means we have to hustle harder because now we are paying for a bigger house. We have there's stress. That means we can't be home for our kids, which means now we have to let the school and the phone be the one to, because I can't even afford to look after that child. So now I have to get them a gadget because now I'm not even home to look after them. So that whole discipleship role just gets thrown out of the window. And we're not realizing the speed we're moving is not God's speed, because you can also move at your own speed. So that thing, I don't know, and I don't know what you guys, what you've experienced in your own homes, but I feel like this is something maybe we saw it as normal. Folks are away. Dad is never home. He's always busy hustling. Mom is never. So faith is passed on by the Sunday school teacher, if you're lucky. Because, and sometimes I understand, you're grown up in a single parent home, they have to hustle. They don't have support. So those ones, there are those occasions when that just becomes, even you have to understand. But in many cases, in modern day parenting, people make choices that take them away from their children and from their role of discipling their children. And it's a hard one. So,
And I think one of the, if we're to think about it and say that it's God's priority for us to raise the next generation, then it means that if we align ourselves to that, even if you're coming from a single parent home, why wouldn't God resource you? Why wouldn't God, kind of give his favor, bring his favor upon your life to help you accomplish his purpose? Because that's his will. It's revealed. You don't need to go up to the mountains to ask God, what's your purpose for my family? It is there. So why wouldn't God help you in that situation? And I think that the purpose of this sermon series is to say, ask God for help. Look to him.
He has
really
resources.
Look to him. He has resources.
He has resources for us. How do we do it differently? I guess, how are you guys doing it differently from what you saw? Or what have you seen that maybe you saw something good in your folks that you're trying to do differently, or maybe you're trying to do something different from what you saw? Pastor Shi, you're going to say something.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I was raised a bit different from what my spouse went through.
Yeah.
For me, I come from a fairly good background.
Your
And
parents were in ministry.
Ministry. They understand what ministry is. They really had a purpose. Yeah. They know what the vision is. They've saved. They've done all those things. But now when you get into your own marriage, just thinking through what does that mean, and not just going and taking everything that you learned and throwing it away. So at a point we moved into a big house knowing that we want to put the church there because there was space. And for us, it started eating up into, yes, we allowed God in that space, and he really moved. At a point, even provided for rent for some days and a specific season. But at a point, we felt like, okay, let's now, we are enjoying this, we can take charge. And then we got ourselves into debt. So I was sharing with the church that I got myself into a big debt. And then I remembered at that point what you said about the blessings. And at that time, it hit us and we were like, no, this is not what we want to shape. Yes. Yeah. This is not what we want to shape for our generation. And I think at a point we decided that now, because this is not what we want to shape, we even called our parents and we told them, speak into our hearts, tell us, what did you do? Wow. How did you get this done? I remember we even had a meeting, it was ending at 3 a.m. with our whole family and my siblings, and it went till late. And they spoke into our lives, and we figured out how we would actually get out of debt as a family. And we finally even moved and downsized. Like, it was crazy for us because we were sharing today. Completely a third of our things we had to give and do different things, and some of them we've even given to the church. But our point was, what do you want to shape for our next generation? Do you want to bring them loans? Do you want to bring them debts? Do you want to show them that this is the way of surviving, feel good now, but later on, not obeying God, suffer? So for us, it was a very big decision. For him, it was a completely different scenario, because for him, it was like, tumetoka kule kwenye, like where we were in those years and in those days. And for him, it was harder. And he can share his part. Yeah.
You've been volunteered.
Under the bus. Anyway, I think my experience is it's only that I think Pastor Shu is shy to say that for those who came to our house, it was literally, 7 bedrooms. Wow. Like, we could actually we could actually host a bigger number in the church or anyone, and it was a beautiful thing. For guys who came in, you'd park like 4 cars in the space, and I think for me at some moment I felt like we've made it. We've made it. We've done it well. But I think at some point reality began checking in, and because we are also facilitating Couples and Money, we are part of Couples and Money. And I remember I was telling the team today that we were created for something far much bigger than a paycheck. And I think for us, we started, shifting our mind and thinking, this thing is not just about a paycheck. It's about the difference that we're making in people's lives. It's about the difference you're making in, our son. Our son is called Strong. So the difference you're making, the discipling that we're making into his life. And the beauty about it is that we moved into a house. I keep on telling guys in Couples and Money, that's one of the, experiences we lead people, and we tell them you need to marry your money together. And we were telling guys, we moved into a house whereby you can literally come in and go out. You just come in and go out. It's that small. But we are happy. We are so much happy to be together. It's a small space, but we can actually enjoy family. We can actually have, have more conversations. I don't know whether it's a bad thing or a good thing. Yeah, for the first time. We actually saved. That's the other thing. So we actually saved. So I think it's a beautiful thing to notice that, it's important for you to think about the future and, begin saving for the sake of the next generation.
Wow.
Yes.
What a great story.
Well done.
I love the fact that as a couple, you've been able to make some hard decisions, but you make them for the sake of the next generation. Yeah. I think you were going to say something about your background. I don't know.
I was just going to share that I also came from a single parent background. Yeah. And so there wasn't a lot of planning. There wasn't a lot of this is what you do. I grew up not only single parent, but very poor.
Yeah.
And so money was always a problem. And so when we got married with Belinda, I knew I'd never wanted to go back where I grew up. I knew I never wanted to go back into a place of problems. And so we started asking ourselves, how do we do things differently? And so we started thinking, how do we live below our means? Because I know people in my family, I've seen some uncles, I've seen some aunts who money comes and just regardless of how much it is, it just disappears because of a lifestyle that they live. And so for us, we told ourselves we will never allow ourselves to be those kinds of people. And so at a point, when we got married, I was the only one. When Belinda moved to Kenya, I was the only one who was earning. But then she ended up getting a job. And then we were like, the same place we're living right now is the same place we'll continue to live.
Wow.
We'll not move and go and find a better neighborhood, more expensive neighborhood, so that we can feel like our peers and start going out there and showing people who we are. But we decided to come up with a way of saying, this is what we want to do. So what increased was not our expenses, but what increased was our savings and our givings. And so we never have to live every day thinking, my goodness, I can't do this. We are very free. And we do everything very free.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm hearing then is just being able to say, these things are connected. The decisions we're making today, because we could have come from stressed family backgrounds where there was emotional lack of health, which then makes us make certain decisions, which if we're not careful to submit to God's word, will create the same problems for our kids. So how do we then say, for those of us who are married, and even for those who are single, I need to create a different story, which then means if it's financially, I need to think differently about money. If it comes to marriage, then I need to get help, because if I'm beginning to see the stresses my parents had, you see the problem is we carry out the same script we saw in our families. So if there was stress at home, we'll just carry on the same script. If there are no marriages in our family, we'll actually end up, it's almost like you're on a one-way ticket to divorce. Because there are families where it's like marriages just don't work, so you already have a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah? So somehow you have to say, no, it has to stop with us. Which means we have to then actively participate. It's like when if you've come from alcoholism, and then us guys, we have a weakness with alcoholism. It just means you'll not be like other people. Yeah. When you see other guys saying, me, I can have a glass of wine, you'll be like, Me, I know my weakness. So if our marriages in our family have issues, then it's like, no, us guys are not like other people. We get help. We are constantly taking classes. We are constantly getting mentors. Because we know, us guys, we need the help, so that this thing ends in our generation and moves to the next generation. So, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I'm hearing many amazing stories, and I feel like mine is kind of different, because from the background I'm raised from, I have both parents, and my dad was so well planned. He knew how to save. He's an accountant. You all know accountants. But for me as a child, I didn't understand what all these things saving is, because he didn't really intentionally teach us. So for me, I felt it was like he's denying us our rights. Maybe I want to go for a school trip. He says he doesn't have money. You want money to go somewhere. He says he doesn't have money, yet he has money. Maybe at home you are used to eating the ugali and greens all the time. There's no meat. So you're wondering what's happening over here. And so I grew up with that. Maybe let me call it bitterness. Like I want to grow up, have money, and not spend it.
Chop the money.
Chop the money, because he doesn't know how to spend the money. No, I'll show you how to spend the money. We are six siblings, and he managed to take us all to school, and all of us are doing well. But now when I started working, getting my own money, blowing the money fast. And now the financial anxiety came to me now. Because for him, he was well planned and everything. Now to me, he's now starting to. I'm like, end month is coming. There's rent to do. There's a child who needs diapers and everything. Now is when I'm starting to understand why he was saving, but he never intentionally taught us this is saving.
Wow.
So
the caution there is we don't just do it, but teach. Because discipleship is really about teaching. And if we're responsible for saying the role of marriage, the role of family is to disciple, and discipleship has to do with teaching. So don't just be good at it, but teach your kids. And let them know why it is. That's a really good caution, by the way. I don't know if we teach our kids very well.
About money? Yeah, we started
we have,
yeah, we do.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that. So basically, what I think I love Hypses's caution, where he's saying, even as you're doing these things for your family, make sure they're walking the journey with you. because all of us are equipping the next generation on how to be emotionally healthy. And I think we talked about 3 things that you gave us. Well, you also talked about mental health and the stigma of mental health. You mentioned schizophrenia in the family, because we haven't had that culture in Africa of talking about mental health freely. So people are so afraid to say, I have bipolar, I'm schizophrenic. And then when they say it in DG, it's like people don't know what to do. So it's almost like I don't want to tell people because I don't know if people will just tell me, just get over it. You know, I've got depression, just get over it, or make fun. Yeah, they think maybe that you need to cast out a demon out of you or something. And I feel like what we're trying to say in this series is no. I mean, just like you can have asthma, and we've prayed for you, and God can either heal you immediately, or it can become a situation where God just helps you learn to manage it. And there are times with mental health when we pray and somebody is healed, and other times when God just shows you how to manage it, and His grace becomes sufficient, just like for Paul. But you see, because of those things not being dealt with, then we end up having a lot of anxiety. But I think what you said for us is, you said 3 things: align your careers, align your finances, align your family time. So that we're able to actually say, my career must be a tool for discipleship of my family. It might mean that we don't go fast as we thought. Maybe we thought by 30 we should be already, you know, driving. Retired. Hey, okay, Noel, you are even ahead. I was thinking of the car we should be driving at 30. Yeah, for Noel it was retired. But, you know, maybe at some point we had already got these crazy goals. And unfortunately, those goals can actually destroy everything. I was reading about a politician today. I think it's been out for a while, but this politician in Kenya who is right now auditioning to be a cabinet secretary. And he actually talked about how his marriage broke because of his... you guys, anybody read it? I'm not going to mention names on air. But he talked about the fact that he neglected his wife because of his ambition. And he'd see her being at home and she doesn't want to grow her business, and he'd feel like she's just no ambition. But he says in the process, he pushed her away, and now he has full regrets because he realizes that money is not everything. So you've got this timeline you've put on your life. I have to achieve this by this time, but you're not understanding that actually is not helping you achieve God's purpose for your life. And sometimes you do need to slow down and say, hey, there's a season. Our kids are young. They need me home. In this season, I mean, I can't be running the way I'm running like a headless chicken, just like everybody else in the world, because that's how the world runs, by the way. Just enter into your career, run like headless chicken. And I'm like, no, I mean, seriously, let me, the world is just harsh.
It's rough.
It's just rough. Aligning your finances, again, it's being able to say, okay, let's make sure we live below our means, like you guys are saying, so that we always have margins. And then, of course, teach our kids about it so they understand why we're doing it. And then now, that means living simply. So that we don't become that church where somebody comes with a new kind. We're like, the blessing of the Lord. Hallelujah. First, we need to know, how did this blessing come? Because maybe that new car is you're completely out of you're causing a new stress for your family that doesn't belong there. So we need to actually be able in your DG to interrogate and say, this is actually the blessing of the Lord, or actually this is a temptation of the enemy. So we don't always celebrate lifestyle, because I know places where it's just about lifestyle. The more flashy you dress, the nicer the car you're driving, it just shows God is blessing you. And I think that's too much pressure. I know Christians who are in debt so they can show other Christians that they're being blessed. Oh my God, how do you put yourself in slavery? That's not a value we have at Mavuno. And then aligning your family time, which means then being able to say, how do we create time for the things that count? And for you singles, it's easy for a single person to just feel, I don't need family time. I can go into my career and just not burn. But first of all, how will you ever get married? Okay, let's even leave that one. But even there are people you need to be discipling. There are nephews and nieces who you have space for, and God has put you in their life because their parents are living that lifestyle. And maybe you're the only sober person there who can actually be available. So how do we create space that we're also aligning family time, so that we're able to actually make sure that there's time for marriage for those who are married, there's time for the next generation, there's time for discipleship, there's time for ministry.
There's even time for friends.
There's time for friendships.
Yeah. Social life.
Yeah, and I know one of the examples you always give, time for rest, And for us, we made a decision. As a young couple, we realized we're not going to achieve everything that we want to achieve. If both of us take off full force on our career, something is going to give. The world tells you can have it all. It's a lie. It's a lie. And so we actually slowed down. We said, Mavuno is going to grow slower. Our whatever businesses we're running will grow slower.
Or
But
rather,
initially we
did
were. Then
and
we burnt out and shut down those businesses. We're like, our finances will grow slower in this season,
Yes.
but we want a healthy family life. And we owe it to the next generation. So that, yes, they might still have issues, but hopefully we've done our work as parents to ensure that we've created a good, healthy environment for them. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to say.
I'm talking about family time. There's a new phenomenon that has come in these last 2 years because of COVID, where people are working from home.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some leaders, Mavuno Church leaders, and one of them was saying people are confusing working from home with family time. You know, and so people are thinking, just because I spend time at home, I mean, we see each other all the time. I'm here, you know, in that room, I'm in this room. People feel like it's family time, but it is not. So that one calls even for us to be even more deliberate.
Wow.
And another thing that I was saying is that, you know, sometimes we leave our nannies to be the ones that, you know, we give our babies to the nannies, especially in these developmental stages. Because I've paid you, I need time, I need some me time, and so you're the one who's washing the baby, you're the one who's feeding the baby, and so the baby hasn't even connected with the parent. And so you're a parent, but you're a stranger. You're at home, but you're a stranger even to your kid. And so this leader was just telling us that for her, now she's taken those as her times. She's the one who's washing the baby, she's taking time to feed.
She's making some deliberate decisions.
Yeah, deliberate decisions. She's not feeding the baby, taking times to feed the baby. She's not just saying, just because I have help, this is for you, or just because we work at home, this is family time. So it calls for us to be very deliberate also.
Wow. And you know, as you say that, I've been guilty of that, because I know that I can be home and not be home. Like, I'm that parent. She's smiling because it's true. I'm just confessing online. It's true. I can be that parent where I'm sitting here and my kids are passing me, but they can tell, don't talk to him. he's here, he's very present, but his mind is not here. He's at work, he's somewhere else, even though he's sitting. And I think that's something God has consistently challenged me on. Just no. It's not just about being there. It's about being actually present. Yeah. Putting aside your gadgets, because gadgets become, you can all be home and all of you on the gadgets, including the child. The child has an iPad, the parents have their phones. And that's not family time either. Just physical presence is not it. You know, it's more than that. Steve, you're going to add something to that. And Steve is engaged, so this is a good time for you to be processing some of these things.
Actually, in line with that, for me it's more of a question. I saw it as a caution, but also a question for me. Coming from a point of, you know, you are ahead of us in ministry. For me, I was like, in what space how should I balance my ministry life and also family? Because I've seen, even when I was reading today, I was sharing with the team. I saw like Samuel. Like, you find Samuel in the Bible. He was a good leader. He was a judge. He was a good leader. But when it came now to a point where they had to appoint now another judge, even the leaders told him, "You're a good leader and you've led us well, but unfortunately,
those
your
kids
sons,
of yours,
they're lost." And so for me, I was very cautious. How do I limit myself? Because purpose is very, very good. I mean, you're driving. I mean, it's for souls, for getting to disciple people, and then you forget family, and maybe just get lost in that. So how do you balance?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question, and I don't even know if we have time to go into it. I think for me, what I'd just say, if I could really summarize, and I'm hoping we can actually even do a series on this one day. There's three types of families. There's those who do, and I've said this somewhere, there are those who do family or mission. So when it comes to this balance, they just decide, either I'm going to do ministry or I'm going to do my family. And those two things are opposed. So usually then they'll end up choosing one over the other. Then there are those, and that's a solution. But there are those families who say, no, it can't, both of those things are my calling. And so they do family and mission. So what that means is they draw boundaries and they do balance. So this is my work time. This is my career, my family time. This is my me time. You kind of draw balance. And it's a better solution than the other one, because this one allows you to try and do them all. But the problem with this one, you become a juggler. It's like you're really, and once in a while a ball can drop, and sometimes it can be the one you don't want to drop. There's some balls you cannot drop. You know, you drop marriage, what do? I mean, it's over. So so you're living a frantic life of I can't afford to drop, and that's a dangerous place. So it's better, but it's dangerous. But there's another one called family on mission. And family on mission really has to do with you deciding as a family, what are the most important things for me? And as a Christian, that important thing is my faith. It's my mission. And then saying every other gift God has given me is going to help me do my mission. So what does that mean? It means when I come for the gathering, because Saturday was the day I've got to be with my kids, I bring my kids for the gathering. And we just say, this is a fun thing we do as a family, and after that we eat chips. And what does that do? It starts training my kids to be in church and to hopefully enjoy church as well. Because kids at a young age will enjoy what their parents enjoy. But then it's saying we are all on mission. When it comes, we talk about the things I'm struggling at work. I bring it home to them, and I'm able to say, this is what we're praying for, Mavuno. And the kids also begin to understand the mission. It becomes their mission as well. So that we work as a family, doing the things God is calling us to. Our career becomes a tool for our mission. So the kids know, this is God's house. We love the fact that, and we're even praying that God gives us a bigger house so that we can do ministry. So the kids begin to understand that we do this together. That's family on mission. And for me, if I could summarize, I'd love to spend some more time talking about that. It's a fantastic question. But I really feel that this is where this will boil down for us. When we decide we're a couple on mission. We're a family on mission. I'm an individual on mission. So that everything I have doesn't compete with my calling. It helps my calling, So.
Yeah, in fact, our family mission statement, creating memories while serving God together. Yeah, so it's, yes. Yeah. So we're intentionally thinking we're creating memories, but it's as we serve God together. Yeah. So I think on Saturday we were all day downtown with the kids. Then after that we
loved it.
Yeah, we loved it. It was fun.
They enjoyed it. They got prayed for. Then after that, we all went and had chips.
They had chips and
whatever we made a do of it.
Yeah.
And we want them to enjoy church. We want them to enjoy the fact that we serve as a family. So how do you not put a barrier between your kids and your ministry? So actually, one of the things I pray is that my kids will enjoy the privilege of being in ministry. So I try and get them to come for the trips we go for when I can.
The mission trips.
Because I want them to actually enjoy it. We actually travel to other countries because our parents were pastors. And that's so different to where they're able to actually see it as a privilege, as opposed to pastors' kids who saw it as a curse that their parents were in ministry. So families on mission. And I feel like it's a great question, Steve, because I think it really summarizes for us what God is calling us to be. Healthy families that are on mission together, where we're actually being able to be open vulnerable about our issues. We can talk about emotional health, mental health. There's different mental health issues we need to learn to talk about in our families, even smaller level ones like dyslexia and reading, academic difficulties. It stops being a stigma. We stigmatize too much. Not every child will have the same gifts. Some will be fantastic with numbers, others will be good with talking. And look at the Kenyans who are making millions, and they were in class they were noisemakers.
Or even dancing.
And dancers. So how do we value every person? Yeah, look at Hype Says. Yeah. And so how do we value every member of the family? How do we celebrate each other? And how, even in our DG, how do we begin to celebrate the gifts everybody brings and value? And even also be able to say, whatever issues that you have, that's okay. That's actually who God has called you to be, and we walk with that as well. So yeah, so maybe one last comment from Lynette. Yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday we went to PPI in St. Elizabeth for mission, and I had a privilege to speak to. Oh, sorry. Okay.
So you went on a mission?
Yes, we went on a mission to St. Elizabeth, and I had the privilege to speak to Form 4s. And we were speaking about emotional well-being in the family.
Nice.
And we got a chance for them to ask questions about the topic. And it is saddening to find that the questions they were asking is, my dad uses drugs, how can I change him? And I have issues in my family. How can I do to help the situation? And these are students who are going to do their KCSE in 43 days. And so instead of thinking about their exams and their futures, they are thinking about this and this is happening in my family, and what can I do about it? Well, how can I change the situation here? And so when we are speaking about the brokenness in the family and how kids notice whatever is going on, sometimes as parents, although I don't have experience there. But sometimes as parents, they assume that we are not seeing what is happening. But as a child, now you feel as if it's your work to save the family instead of them taking care of you.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my comment.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Lynette. That's amazing. Guys, we need to end. And I told this, I warned the Lifeway guys, we will not have time. Just because it's such a good topic. And it's something that is real for all of us. Again, remember the purpose of this series is how do we become emotionally healthy believers, followers of Jesus. And so this week in our discipleship group, let's talk about our families. Maybe you can share a bit about the family you came from and where you saw some of the symptoms of emotional lack of health. But then talk about how, and maybe even health as well. It's not just the negatives, where you saw positives as well. But then be able to talk about what are you going to do different in your generation. And if you're single, you're not married yet, what are you doing differently now to prepare yourself so that whichever that you'll have the impact on the next generation? Because every single one of us, married or single, that's our calling, that will impact the next generation through the lives that we'll live, emotionally healthy lives. And so, Pastor Carol, maybe you can just say a blessing over us as we conclude. But thank you so much, Lifeway team. We love you guys.
Yeah. All right. And this is my blessing over you as you go for your discipleship group, even as you're meeting. So may the Lord go before you. May you experience His power. May you experience His grace. May you experience His saving power, His miracles, even as you have these conversations. May the Lord truly go before you. May He give you peace. May He give you joy. And just receive the impartation of emotional health. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. God bless you. Enjoy discipleship group. See you next week. See you next week. Amen. On Sunday at Lifeway. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
One, two, three. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. Be optimistic. Umepinduka kushoto kulia, ukitizama wenzako ambao maisha yao unayatamani kama supu ya nyama, achana na jaza kibaba. Oh, patience, space, just you wait. Pole pole ndio mwendo, usibabaike rembo. Taratibu ndio mwendo, utakayo yatakuja na yapite. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. Ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Oh, just take one step at a time. There's no need to rush. It's like learning to fly or falling in love. Whoa. It's gonna happen when it's supposed to happen, when we find the reasons why, one step at a time. Ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum.
And I see your people changing the nations, now rising up to take their place. And I see an army, righteous and holy, filled with the Spirit and unafraid. They carry a banner, it's written Jehovah. the Lion of Judah, the King who reigns, Christ the Redeemer. He is our Master, and we've conquered all in Jesus' name. Yeah, we are the overcomers. We are the overcomers. We have overcome in Jesus' name. We are the overcomers. We are the overcomers. We have overcome in Jesus' name.
Life is what you make it, and I sure believe that our lives can be free, and we must win. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ushindi. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ushindi. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ushindi. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ushindi. Oh.
Day after day I'm running, night after night I'm yearning. I need more of you. Song after song I'm singing, sincere words I'm bringing. Show me more of you. The enemy's telling me that I can't move, that there's a separation between me and you, that I'm not right with you. But I'm not satisfied with where I am, in need and desperate need of your hand. Kwa nini wewe mkuu, na siwezi kubaki vile nivyo. Ni kweli niwe ndio suluhisho Baba, nimechoka na kungoja Baba, ninaomba fill me, oh God. Fill me, oh